here in St. Elmo. And moving some pictures around, cleaning off that wall. We got some plans for the shop. And well, it's ungodly hot in here. I thought, well, hell, why not fire up the forge? Take this opportunity to subscribe because you probably want to see what's coming next. What I've been working on, I've been working on processing up a bunch of scrap. A lot of those scraps come in forms like horseshoes and files and hammerheads and a lot of things people are throwing away. And as a blacksmith or a knife maker, people will come up and give you ridiculous amounts of, but you think you can make something out of it. And the truth about this is that you can. And if you're not a blacksmith or a knife maker, but you're interested in it, I'm going to show you how you can take these free or nearly free materials and turn them into something profitable. Taking something that most people are going to be throwing away and turning it into money. So like here I have some scrap metal. There's some horseshoes in there. There's a knife blade that I messed up. There's some different stuff. But the stuff that I don't feel like messing with, I'm going to pass on to someone else. So this material is just about up to temperature. I just loaded my Atlas forge down with a bunch of half horseshoes. And what I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm processing them into usable stock. Now I can turn that into a letter opener, I can turn that into a hook pick, I can turn that into a bottle opener. All three of those make me money. And while we generally use new horseshoes when we do our horseshoe knife experience here at Forge of Memory, there's no reason that I can't take some that are used and make something out of them. And occasionally I do have people come in and go, hey, this came off of our 2-year-old pony or whatever, and the kid wants to make a knife out of it. You can do that too. We don't charge for the material, we just charge for the experience. So the first thing I'm going to do, I guess the first thing was I sorted and I cut these. And the first thing to do is convert them into usable stock. And the way I do that is by straightening these out. Straighten them out, flatten them out just a little bit. Now, temp's a little bit low, even though it's soft metal. I'm going back into the forge. And a lot of people now are going to say, soft metal, well, why would you make a horseshoe knife out of soft metal? Because it's an experience, it's a forging experience. And a lot of times, some of us started making railroad spike knives. Now, we still do railroad spike knife experience. When I'm making my railroad spike knives, I use Atlas knife and tool 1078. I carbon railroad spikes. That was not a paid promotion, but Atlas should probably maybe toss me another forge or something for promotion. Just a thought. Sometimes when I make my horseshoe knives, I laminate some Damascus steel onto that, so I have a Damascus blade with a horseshoe handle. There's a lot of cool stuff like that you can do. Helpful Hive 6664, how's it going? Tamer, how's it going? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you, one, how to process this up and how to process it quickly. One, if you can, do it in bulk. So if you're cutting up files, cut them, stack them and cut them. It's going to save you a lot of time. If you're doing horseshoes and converting these into usable stock, then it is an ideal situation, or it is an ideal scenario. Then you pack the forge full of it. Now, if you're using a cold forge, you might not want to do that because you might just burn up your stock. But I've got my forge pack full of this material. And one, more importantly, then now I can make something out of it. Now I can store that. With a bulk material, you want to be able to store that material in a manner that does not take up a lot of room. And what I'm doing right here is converting this into a shape, a form, that takes up a lot less room than half a horseshoe. It also doesn't get tangled up. At least tangled up near as easy. And it takes very little time to process this. Now some people say, well, why would you want to do that? Well, I make knives that range anywhere from about 125 bucks on up to 5 figures, okay? Knives, swords, axes, cool stuff. Some of them out of quite exotic materials. And sometimes when we go do shows, I'm not going to sell that many $500 or $600 knives. But people do like to come up and buy something as a souvenir from a blacksmith or someone who was on a TV show about knife making, or they just think it's cool. And I have to have affordable cash in hand items. So that's what I like to do. I do like to make some lower dollar pieces. It's not going to make me a lot of money, but it's great for advertising, and that's where you need to look at it. Advertising as an individual, where you're going to take that material and bring in more customers from processing it, from creating something, from selling it, bring in more customers to buy other items from you in the future. Blake Murphy, you should definitely subscribe if you haven't, buddy. We do a lot of videos on blacksmithing, on knife making, and builds and so forth. Helpful if you don't know how to. Watch some of the videos and you can learn. You can also check out a link in the description for Forge and Memory Family. And there are step-by-step videos there you can subscribe or purchase or subscribe to. You have to go to the website and check it out. And they will actually, it'll take you step-by-step on how to make this stuff. Kat, how's it going? Also like the name. How do I do this? I've been doing this for going on 33 years. So it's just something I've acquired and continue to do. Dipstick Dave, love the name and thank you. What anvil do you recommend? I've got an Acme that I've had forever. I've got an Arm & Hammer produced, some brand that there's like only 5 known to exist. I really like Robbie Bowman, who started Forge and Memory, gave me an NC Tool knife maker's anvil, and Cheyenne took it from me. Otherwise, I use it a lot. This is, I believe this is a Peter Wright, and this is what we use for doing our. It's not my best anvil, but it's one that's been resurfaced at one point, and it's what we use when we have people come in and do forging experiences. So it just kind of depends on preference. I like to get. I want to get a couple of the small Atlas anvils and maybe a Holland anvil and something. When I use Holland anvil switch blocks and drifts a lot of times when I'm doing my axes. They're tomahawks. Oh, axes and tomahawks. So like I said, what I'm doing here, I'm processing this up into a shape, a form that stores easier, because I can stack a whole bunch of these together. I can stack them up on top of my forge and it doesn't take up near as much room as what that pile of refuse right there takes up. Now, I haven't finished anything out of these yet, but before the end of the video, provided I don't have a customer walk in, and as hot as it is today, I may not have a customer walk in. My plan is by the end of the video to go ahead and forge out a couple things and show you guys what you can make out of this material. With the longer end there, that will make a good hook bit. And while this may not make you a lot of money, I mean, you're looking at probably only, like $20 to $60 per piece. It's still going to be enough where you can grow your hobby and possibly turn it into a legit business, if you so choose. So when I'm working this scrap, now whether it's horseshoes, whether it is leaf spring, whether it's grass, whatever it might be, I have to keep in mind I'm not going to get 100% out of this, because this stuff has been worked, it's been used, and there's likely going to be some defects at some point. Or the material may be just fine and it just doesn't quite turn out the way I'd like it to. That's another possibility, a high probability. And that's also the reason I got that bucket with those other horseshoes in it, because some of those are hard surface that I couldn't even cut with the grinder. So keep that in mind. It may be free, but it's still going to take some effort to get to where you want it. This also gives you an opportunity to practice things like hammer control. Hammer control is very important. You'll notice I'm moving through this pretty quick. Even while I'm talking to you guys, give me guys some pointers on how you as well can make art, or you can make functional art, or you can make tooling, or you can make, well, you can just have fun in general. With what I'm doing right here, it's also a good way to get exercise. Now the reason I'm using the side of the anvil and not the face when I'm doing this is because I'm flattening out a longer portion, and you can use more than just the face of the anvil. What everybody's commented. Okay, for beginning, one Hartman. You asked what anvil do I recommend for beginning? I was teaching a college class and they bought a whole bunch of 88-pound beaver anvils. And for the money, they seem to be okay. And probably got them, they probably picked them up in bulk, maybe $190, $220 a piece. So it wasn't too bad. And they've got, it's a double horn with a hardy hole and like a round ritual hole. It's quite large actually. Good for bending things as well. Man, I really like blacksmith, but I live in the city now. Dude, I am on Main Street in St. Illinois. I've got a place in the country. I've also got a place here. And I got a place across the street. I got several places. And I've got that all from blacksmith. If you're in the area, stop by sometime. Man, okay, let's see. Show me your Bowie knife. Which one? Nebraska Pro Rodeo. Which Bowie knife? I call this my Turtle Island Bowie. I carry it when we teach down in Turtle Island, which would be Eustace Conway from Mountain Men. There's one of my Bowies. I've got some more Bowies over here in the case. I've got some more Bowies down here. There's a D-guard. Those are some of the Bowies I have, and I've got more coming up. Actually, there are probably some Farrier's Rasp Bowies over there that are on auction. Oh! That can happen while doing backflips, yes. But I'm going to work on getting these, since it's a hot one today, people. And so what I'm going to do, I've only got a couple of these left on this batch. I'm going to get these hammered out, and then I'm going to get the rest in. And keep in mind that if you're doing this on your own time, you're not doing this on somebody else's time. You're not getting paid by the hour. You're getting paid by whatever you can make here. So you've got to learn business management skills on that. You have to look at time management. And one of those things I want to talk about is basically working on small projects while you're working on big projects. Now, if you're welding, you're doing forge welding, doing Damascus, anything like that, do it one at a time for the most part. Don't mess up your welds trying to work on a horseshoe knife while you're doing your other pieces, okay? But if I'm working on a tomahawk, let's say that I took this hammerhead right here. Apparently it was $2. I'm going to forge that into a $150 tomahawk. If I forge it into an $80 tomahawk, I'm going to make a profit on it. So, let's say I'm going to forge this, and I get it in the forge, I'm forging it out, and I'm like, wow, this is a lot of mass here, and the forge is hot enough I can be working on other items. That's when I make a couple horseshoe knives, and I make an extra $80 while I'm making that. I'm using essentially the same amount of fuel. This is getting pretty cool for me to be hammering on, but I want to get it straightened out. Okay, so now my forge is empty and it's spitting and sputtering. I need to turn my pressure up a little bit. So you'll also notice that I'm going to stack this full of horseshoes. Why am I doing that? Because if I wait for each one to come up individually, I feel it's going to take a bit longer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to let these heat up. The ones that get hot first, those are the ones I'm going to bring out and work on first. The others are progressively going to come up in temperature. And as I remove mass from the forge, that heat is going to be able, the forge essentially is going to be more efficient because I'm removing mass that's already heated or that I'm trying to heat to a specific temperature. So I'm going to skinny horseshoes into the forge. Now I'm going to let those come up to temperature. Right now you're probably going, well, isn't there an easier way? Yeah, there probably is. Bone Shaker, how's it going, man? I am working on staying hydrated. I'm sweating a bit. That's probably about where we're at here. We don't have any mountains around, so like our humidity. We have a lot of corn. We get what in Illinois what's called corn sweat. That's where humidity is coming off the corn from transpiration, and sometimes it makes people not live anymore from asthma and different things like that in the summertime. But they'd rather complain about firearm policies and actually take care of things that are causing more harm. That's Illinois for you. All right, guys. So as that's coming up to temperature, I want to recommend, it's a great time to go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And once I get these processed, which it won't take very long, once I get these processed, I'm going to take one of those bigger horseshoes and I'm going to make a horseshoe knife out of it. And I want to show you how quick a person can do that. They make $40 to $60. I mean, sometimes we sell them dirt cheap, like 20 bucks a piece, which I really am not making any money on it, aside from, instead of having that horseshoe knife, then I have $20 that I can buy more horseshoes with. An ugly, endless cycle. Or I can buy propane to heat more horseshoes. You know what I don't make here? That's horseshoes. I'm a blacksmith. I am not a farrier. I do not make horseshoes. All right, guys. Yeah, hopefully you've had a chance to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I've got some pieces that are just about up to temperature. Now you may notice, okay, one, things are backwards. So this says forge memory, but it's backwards. I'm on a selfie cam right now. And I am right-handed. For you guys going, hey, you're holding up your left hand, keep in mind that a selfie cam is back. And I alternate between my right hand and my left hand, and that helps to keep myself balanced out. And not only, you know, from an aesthetic view, but it also helps me stay, you know, get a pretty good workout and not experience fatigue as bad. Now, Bone Shaker said something about hydration. I am going to grab a drink. Ooh, look, water. All right. Fortune fishing, how's it going? Alright guys, I got one up to temp, so I'm going to, once more, I'm just going through, straighten out all this stuff, because then I can go through and I can figure out what projects I'm going to use for these half of skinny ass horseshoes. And if you'd like to see a good video on how to make a horseshoe knife and have the process explained, check out the link in the description for Forge Your Memory Family. All right. basically, the reason I'm doing this video, one, to be informative and create digital content, but two, I got tired of seeing a pile of these lay around. I've got a pile of like 60 farrier's rasps over there I'm going to have to go do up at some point. I don't think I'm dehydrated, but my hands are cramping up just a little bit. I also do a lot of forging, so it could be a combination of things. The tongs I'm using for this are from Iron Dungeon Forge. Be sure to check them out. I make horseshoes. I can make decorative hooks. I can make wall sconces. There's a lot I can make. One thing that I hate, but I have a lot of, and that is shop and clutter. And this is a great way to start reducing some of that. this around. This is either, I don't know, this kind of looks like it might be wrought iron. If it's wrought, it may or may not forge in this, cut this down. So put that horseshoe that's been cut into halves in. And if it forges, I will make something out of it. But if not, then it will get cooled off and go in the scrap bucket. You want to scroll up? It's all good. Have you ever left some curve, left some of the curve in the shoe to shape something into a sickle type knife? Yes, I have. I have done that, Bone Shaker. There's whatever you can shape physically, you can do. Now, whether it's whether it lends itself to ergonomics or structural integrity, but like, you know, making kind of, yeah, you can do that. Also, what does oil quench do as opposed to water to the metal? Okay, good question. Different steels, depending upon alloy content, require different means of quenching to harden. You essentially have water quench on low manganese steels that are usually generally low carbon. Like you can get by with that with some of that 1045 I have. These horseshoes would be a water quench. They will harden up for what they will harden, and you generally don't temper it back. On the hardenable steels, you still would want to temper that back some. On oil is generally used, different types of oil. And I use canola, and I also use quench oil 521, depending upon what I'm making. For axes, for hammers, for high carbon steel blades like swords and knives and so forth. And a lot of it has to do with the cooling rate and not shocking the material that you're working with. By shocking, I mean causing it to fracture out. Okay, it looks like I'm going to need another set of tongs right here to work these. So it's different means of cooling. Now with an air hardening steel, those are generally a higher alloy. That might forge. That is definitely wrought iron. That is some stringy wrought iron right there. I'm going to have to set this aside because I'll try it. Generally want to work wrought at a higher temperature. Otherwise it will separate, come apart on you. So I'm not going to straighten these out all the way. I'm going to leave quite a bit of curvature in the handle because these are a novelty piece. On the air hardening steels generally have higher alloy content. Might have things like nickel, chromium tungsten, things like the tungsten usually with steels that exhibit a red hardness as well. And those steels, I don't work with very often, but occasionally I do get some up in the shop. Absolutely, Bone Shaker. All right. So I'm going to try. Try to pack that together. Now, it looks stringy at the end. Iron, boys and girls. This one's actually opened up some. Now, whether it's salvageable or whether it does that, And this is what I was talking about, where don't expect 100% because that just came completely apart. That goes in the scrap. Now this does have to be worked at a higher temperature and fast. You forge it back into itself versus trying to draw it out, because otherwise it splits apart. So what could have been 2 knives, provided this one survives, will now be 1. So I got that. I got less than, I may have 50 cents or $1 in that material. Probably not even that. That probably was something that was given to me. And if so, it's not as much of a loss. However, when I take into account that had I worked that a little differently, provided the material would stand it, let's say I sell that for 40 bucks. Well, I could have had 80 instead of 40. And $80 worth of groceries still doesn't go very far today. Survived into a knife-like shape, and I will trim that in. This one in its current form is going down here to cool, and then I'll grind it to shape. Well, boys and girls, while we're at it, I think this one's mild steel. It's got paint on it, so it's going to smell bad. Not that you guys will notice. But now that I've got majority of my stock processed, I can start going into these other pieces and making usable, functional art out of them. Something that's going to make me money. Now, will it make you money? If you do it right, yes it will. If you have the right people who want to spend money, and that's the biggest factor is your market, then yes it will. Yes, the metal does cool quickly. In relation, I can put my hand on this anvil and it's warm. Not blacksmith warm, which is regular hot, but it's warm to the touch, like a bath water. Keep in mind, if that's 1600 degrees and I come in here and lay it on something that's 90 degrees, say 100 degrees Fahrenheit, then it's going to pull that heat off. The hammer face, while it is hot from contact and from friction, it is still cooler than the steel itself. And different steels have different melting points, forging points. Some are forgeable, some aren't. While those are heating up, once more, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do so. And stacking your work is very important as well. If you want to economize on making money off of your scrap material or your non-scrap material. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that I just get done with the class, my forge is still hot, and I don't have another class scheduled. So one, I can turn that forge off, and I can conserve my propane. But keep in mind, it takes propane, or it takes fuel to heat it up to get it to temperature forging. Let's say I've got a couple sections of file steel or some leaf spring or something like that, and I've already got a forge that's up to temperature. I can take that opportunity and in 20 minutes forge out a couple blades and get them normalized. And that's what that bucket over there is for. That bucket, I take all my blades, I forge them and normalize them, and I stack them in there until I get anywhere from 30 to 130. And then I go through and I rough grind them. And then I heat treat them. And then after I heat treat them, I do YouTube videos where I put guards on these. I forge, hot fit the guards to all of these rasp and file and spring steel blades. So not only am I going to make money off of each individual piece, I'm also going to create digital content. I'm going to help people learn, and hopefully we have a good time at it too. So it is a warm one, guys. I guess I better turn that piece in for a little bit. Guys, we're just about up to 10. We're at 10. Part of it's at 10, part of it isn't. The part that I need at temperature is not at temperature. I jumped the gun on that one. There we go. Stacking work can also involve that horseshoe knife or letter opener right there. And what that means is that while I'm waiting for these to come up to temp, these are a lot tougher. While I'm waiting on those to come up to temperature, I can do other things. Like go, oh hey, look, I have time. Hey boys and girls, let's come over here to the 2x72 belt grinder. I can make something like that cool little knife right there. Now it's wrought iron, it's really not going to harden up, but hey look, a horseshoe knife, there's money. Just like that, guys. Okay, Bone Shaker's got another question. Being a blacksmith, is it beneficial to be a welder first to know the metals you're working with, or does your metal knowledge come over time of trial and error? So anytime you go into a situation with prior knowledge of materials, of processes, that can be advantageous to you. So if you're a welder, that could probably help out, especially if you need to do fabrication of your tools, and perhaps you already have some of this equipment. knife maker or a blacksmith, or it might be. Right here on these heavier ones, what I'm going to do is instead of processing them all up at one time, I'm processing them to this point. Going back into the forge, now we're going to use the power hammer. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, why don't you? Now, bone shaker, there is another theory, and that is that some people would prefer for someone to come in to learn with no prior idea so they can train them the way they want it to be. That's corporate America. I'm not corporate America. See how we're turning that into a knife there. And if you're a welder and you're doing this, you can make one of these hammers. Investing time and money into equipment is a good idea on anything you're doing that you want to succeed at. I'm going to let that one cool down. between those three that I just made, keep in mind there's very little finishing to be done. I've been running this video for a little less than an hour. Those three at 40 bucks a piece gets me $120. At 60, it gets me $180. It just depends upon the market. And if I only pull $20 a piece off of them, I make $60 for an hour. I call that okay. Oh, wait. But there's more time. I've got time right now. I can take a break, or I can finish something out real quick. Or finish it to a point at least. And guess what? Here's the grinder. Here's my gloves, and I'm going to cool off one of those horseshoe knives and grind it real quick. Money. All right, my other horseshoes aren't up to due yet. They will be shortly. And money again. Okay. I'm gonna take a break. I'll tell you what, Bum Shaker. I'm gonna do these two knives, or these two horseshoes, if they don't come apart. And then I'll take a break. I got 6 more to do. And that'll get those processed. I figured. So I'm gonna let these cool. I'm gonna cut those ends and then I'm gonna try forging them. But at the recommendation of Bone Shaker, I'm gonna go ahead and take a break. That is true, very true. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna let this run for just a little bit longer, and I'm gonna sit down under this fan and cool off. Whew. So, what I can tell you, I got all kind. The stuff on the walls, the stuff I didn't make. It's just stuff from collection. Some of it I got a sword over here from a movie that I worked on. I loaned it for the bad guy to use. What I want to talk to you guys about real quick is whether it's working with metal, whether it's I've got a friend who does work and she uses a lot of reclaimed barn wood, makes beautiful pieces. Whatever you're working with, people will give you material. You can find material for free. You can a lot of people, you can get equipment for free because it's in the way. They don't use it. Somebody else did, but it's taking up space in their surroundings. So what it comes down to is manage your time, managing finances the entire way around, and managing your business. And that also includes your market. Do not put more money into an item than what you're going to get out of it. And if you're only going to get out of it what you put into it, I'm hoping that you're either making it as a gift or I guess in that case you're not making anything on it. Or you do have to look at reasonable profits. And what that means is that if I make a knife, my general rule is if I make a knife, I need to sell it for at least 10 times what it cost me to make. Okay? That doesn't always happen. I've got a knife back here. It cost me $3,500 to make the blade. It's meteorite Damascus. So I'm not likely to get my general rule out of that one. But I might. If so, I'm going to have a pretty good day. But what I want to talk to you guys about is like, so let's say if I spend $1 on a file at a flea market, I take that file and I cut it in two. So I got 50 cents in that piece, not counting the abrasive or if I hot cut. So material wise, I've got 50 cents in the steel. And somebody gives me a piece of antler. Say somebody gives me a file, take away the 50 cents or the $1. Somebody gives me a piece of antler or a piece of wood and I make that into a knife. Well, I don't have anything in it material wise. I've got the fuel of the forge, I have my time, and I have what abrasives, if any, I use, because I could finish it out with files and stones. I'm not likely to though. So I can do that quite efficiently from a financial standpoint. And I can make something that's worth money out of something that somebody didn't think was worth money. A lot of it comes from confidence. That is confidence in yourself and confidence in your product. And that means that if you're going to sell said item, that there can't be any waver in your voice. You can't. Are you trying to convince the consumer that they need to buy this, or are you trying to convince you that it's worth that for the price that you're asking for? So with the right mindset and a little bit of practice and some confidence, you too can do it. And that's how you do it. Guys, I showed you I made a couple blades real quick. Let's look at those. And then I am going to get a drink of water, a good drink of water. So, well, that's not the first one. The first one was that wrought iron piece, and yeah, I blued I overheated that. I haven't quenched it. It is just going to be a water quench, but that makes for a neat little novelty letter opener horseshoe knife. Here's the second one. It's got that longer clip to it. Kind of feels neat in the hand. And then that upswept Skinner style right there. Not bad either. And if they weren't just made from horseshoes, they'd be worth a lot more money. But you know what? For what I got in them, for what I'm going to get out of them, I'm okay with that. And that's how you do it. Guys, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll be back with some more videos in the near future. Stay cool, stay hydrated, stay tuned for more. Later.